The envelope felt heavy in my jacket pocket as I stood outside the hotel room door. Room 314. I had checked the credit card statement twice, cross-referenced the dates with her supposed business trips, hired a private investigator who confirmed what my gut already knew. My wife of 7 years was inside that room with another man. The divorce papers were already signed by me, notarized that morning, waiting only for her signature. My hands shook slightly as I knocked. Not from fear or sadness. From rage that had been building for 3 months since the first late-night text message I saw by accident, the first suspicious charge, the first obvious lie. Before I walk you through what happened when that door opened, tell me where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. If you have ever caught someone in a lie so big, it changed everything, hit that like button right now. Subscribe, because what happens next is the kind of justice most people only dream about. And stick around until the end, because her reaction when those papers hit the table is something you will not forget. Madison and I met in college in Denver, Colorado. She was studying business administration. I was finishing my degree in civil engineering. We married young, just 23 years old, right after graduation. Looking back, maybe we rushed it. But at the time, it felt right. She was ambitious, driven, beautiful. I had a solid job lined up with a construction firm. We bought a small house in the suburbs, adopted a dog named Cooper, built what I thought was a stable life. For the first 5 years, things were good. We both worked hard, climbed our respective career ladders. I became a project manager overseeing bridge construction across 3 counties. She moved up in her marketing firm, eventually landing a director position that required occasional travel. The travel started about 2 years ago. Chicago for a conference, Seattle for a client meeting, Phoenix for a team retreat. She would be gone 3 or 4 days at a time, come home tired but happy, telling me stories about boring presentations and mediocre hotel food. I trusted her completely. Why would I not? We had built this life together. We talked about having kids soon, maybe buying a bigger house. Our intimacy had declined somewhat over the past year, but I attributed that to stress and busy schedules. She started working out more, buying new clothes, spending extra time on her appearance. I thought she was just taking better care of herself. I even complimented her on it. The first crack appeared 3 months ago. I woke up around 2 in the morning, noticed her phone buzzing on the nightstand. She was asleep beside me. The screen lit up with a text message preview from someone named Kyle. The message read, "Cannot wait to see you next week. Bring that red dress." My stomach dropped. I picked up her phone, but it was locked with a passcode she had recently changed. When I asked her about it the next morning, she said Kyle was a colleague working on the Seattle account. Totally professional. The red dress comment was a joke about a presentation she had to give. Her explanation was smooth, confident, delivered while she packed her gym bag without making eye contact. I wanted to believe her. I tried to believe her. But doubt had planted itself in my mind like a seed. I started paying attention to details I had previously ignored. The way she angled her phone away when texting, how she took calls in another room, her increasingly frequent business trips, sometimes with only a day or 2 notice. The new lingerie I found in her drawer, tag still on, that she never wore around me. The credit card charges from restaurants in cities where she supposedly had meetings, but the expenses were not submitted for reimbursement. One night she said she was working late at the office. I drove by her workplace around 8 in the evening. Her car was not there. I called her cell. She answered slightly breathless, said she had stepped out for coffee, would be home soon. She arrived 2 hours later with no coffee, hair slightly messed up, lipstick gone. When I asked where she had been, she snapped at me for checking up on her like she was a child. We argued. She accused me of being paranoid and controlling. I backed down, apologized, hated myself for doubting her. But I could not shake it. The next business trip she scheduled was to Portland for 4 days. I made a decision that felt like betrayal, but also like survival. I hired a private investigator, gave him her travel details, asked him to confirm she was actually attending business meetings. The investment cost me $2,000 I pulled from my personal savings account she did not monitor. It felt dirty sneaking around investigating my own wife. But I needed to know the truth. The investigator called me on the second day of her Portland trip. She was in Portland but not for business. She checked into the Riverside Hotel under her own name. A man checked in separately. Kyle Brennan, 34 years old sales executive from her own company. They met in the lobby, went to the same room together. The investigator had photos. Them walking close, his hand on her lower back. Entering the elevator. He sat in the hotel bar for hours, documented them leaving the room only for dinner at an upscale steakhouse, returning together, lights going off around midnight. I sat in my car in the office parking lot staring at those photos on my phone. My hands were numb. My chest felt like someone had reached inside and crushed my heart with their fist. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of trust and partnership, and building a future together. And she was in a hotel room with another man, probably laughing about how clueless her husband was. I did not call her. Did not confront her. I drove to a lawyer's office the next morning, filed for divorce, cited adultery, requested our house and division of assets based on her infidelity. The lawyer, a sharp woman in her 50s named Patricia, looked at me with sympathy and steel. She said we could drag this out, or we could make it clean and brutal. I chose brutal. We drafted papers that outlined everything. I took possession of the house we had bought with my down payment from my signing bonus. She would have to buy me out or sell. I kept my retirement accounts. We split the savings 50-50. Cooper stayed with me. She had 30 days to move her belongings out. Patricia had the papers ready in 72 hours. Madison was scheduled for another trip the following week. Seattle this time. The investigator confirmed Kyle had booked the same hotel, same dates. I made my own travel arrangements. One-way flight to Seattle. Hotel room in the same building, different floor. I packed the divorce papers in a manila envelope, wore my best suit, and boarded that plane with a cold clarity I had never felt before. I arrived in Seattle 3 hours before her flight landed. Checked into my room, confirmed with the investigator which room they had reserved. Room 314, 3rd floor. I waited in the hotel bar, nursing a whiskey I barely touched, watching the lobby. She walked in around 7 in the evening, rolling her small suitcase, looking radiant in a blue dress I had never seen before. Kyle arrived 20 minutes later, taller than me, wearing expensive clothes, carrying himself with the confidence of someone who had never faced consequences. They met near the elevators, exchanged a brief kiss when they thought no one was looking, disappeared upstairs together. I gave them an hour. Let them get comfortable, order room service, settle into whatever fantasy they were living where they were not destroying a marriage and multiple lives. I took the elevator to the 3rd floor. Walked down the hallway that smelled like industrial cleaner, and other people's secrets stood outside room 314. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. I knocked firmly. 3 solid knocks that echoed down the corridor. Shuffling sounds inside. Whispered voices. The door cracked open. Kyle stood there in a hotel robe, hair damp from a shower, annoyed expression on his face. "Can I help you?" He said, like I was an inconvenience, a room service mix-up, anything except the husband of the woman he was sleeping with. I smiled, not friendly, and said I was looking for my wife. "Is Madison available?" His face changed. Color drained. Eyes went wide. He tried to close the door. I put my foot in the gap, pushed it open. "I am not here to fight you," I said calmly. "I am here to give my wife some documents she needs to sign." Madison appeared behind him, wrapped in a sheet, face frozen in absolute horror. She looked like she might vomit. "Troy," she whispered. "What are you doing here?" I walked past Kyle into the room. Saw the bottle of wine on the nightstand, 2 glasses, the rumpled bed, her clothes draped over a chair. The evidence of betrayal laid out like an exhibit. I pulled the manila envelope from my jacket, tossed it on the bed. "Divorce papers," I said. "I need you to sign them. Tonight would be convenient." She sat down hard on the edge of the bed, clutching the sheet around her, staring at the envelope like it might explode. Kyle backed toward the bathroom, clearly wanting to disappear, realizing he had wandered into a situation way above his pay grade. Madison looked up at me with tears starting to form. "Troy," she said, her voice shaking. "We can talk about this. This is not what it looks like." I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound came out harsh and bitter. "Not what it looks like. You are in a hotel room in Seattle with your colleague wearing nothing but a sheet, and you want me to believe this is not what it looks like. I have photos from Portland last month. I have credit card statements from Denver showing charges at hotels on nights you supposedly worked late. I have text messages my investigator recovered. This is exactly what it looks like. She started crying those big dramatic tears she used to deploy when she wanted sympathy. Please, she sobbed. It was a mistake. It meant nothing. I love you. We can fix this. Kyle is nothing. He was just a distraction because we have been distant, and I felt lonely, and I made a horrible choice. But we can work through it. We have 7 years together. That has to mean something. Kyle made a wounded noise from near the bathroom. I glanced at him. Even he looked offended at being called nothing. I turned back to Madison. You are right, I said. 7 years does mean something. It means I wasted 7 years trusting someone who did not deserve it. It means I spent 7 years building a life with someone who was willing to throw it away for hotel sex with a coworker. It means I know exactly what you are worth now. I picked up the envelope, pulled out the papers, dropped them in her lap. Sign them, I said. Or do not. Either way, I am filing tomorrow morning. The only difference is whether you make this easy or hard on yourself. Everything is outlined. The house is mine. You have 30 days to move your stuff out. Cooper stays with me. You can take your guilt and your affair partner and figure out your own next steps. She read through the papers, hands trembling, mascara running down her cheeks. This is not fair, she said weakly. You cannot just decide everything without me. I get a say in this. I leaned down, looked her dead in the eyes. You lost your say when you decided to cheat. You lost your say when you lied to my face for months. You lost your say when you booked this room with him while wearing your wedding ring. Sign the papers, Madison. I am done negotiating with you. Kyle finally found his voice. Man, maybe you two should talk about this in private. I am going to just leave and let you work this out. He started gathering his clothes. I did not even look at him. You can stay or go, I said. I do not care. You are not important enough to matter. He left anyway, fumbling with his pants, grabbing his wallet, practically running out the door. The room fell silent except for Madison's crying. She signed the papers, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the pen, but she signed every page where Patricia had marked. When she finished, I took them, checked each signature, slid them back into the envelope. I will have my lawyer file these tomorrow, I said. You have 30 days. Do not contact me except through attorneys. I walked to the door. She called after me. Troy, please. I made a mistake. I still love you. We can get counseling. We can fix this. I stopped, hand on the doorknob, looked back one last time. If you loved me, I said quietly, you would not have done this in the first place. And whatever you are feeling right now is not love. It is regret that you got caught. There is a difference. I left, closed the door on her, crying on that hotel room, on 7 years of my life that I would never get back. Took the elevator down, walked through the lobby, caught a taxi to the airport. I flew home that night on the last flight out, sat in the window seat watching Seattle disappear below, feeling something I had not expected. Relief. Pure, clean relief that the lies were over, the uncertainty was done. The truth was finally out. The next morning, Patricia filed the divorce papers. Madison called my phone 17 times. I did not answer. She sent texts ranging from apologetic to angry to desperate. I blocked her number. She showed up at the house 2 days later. I had changed the locks. She stood on the porch crying, begging me to let her in, promising she had ended things with Kyle, swearing it would never happen again. I watched from the upstairs window, called the police when she would not leave, had them escort her off the property with a warning about trespassing. Her family called. Her mother sobbed about how we were perfect together, how every couple goes through rough patches, how I was being cruel and unforgiving. I told her mother exactly what Madison had done, where I had caught her, how many times it had happened. The line went silent. Her mother hung up. I did not hear from her family again. Work became my refuge. I threw myself into projects, stayed late, volunteered for the difficult assignments no one else wanted. My boss noticed, gave me more responsibility, hinted at a promotion. Colleagues who knew about the divorce kept their distance, unsure what to say. I appreciated the space. I was not ready to talk about it, to process it with other people, to hear their opinions about forgiveness and moving forward. Cooper stayed by my side constantly. Dogs know when something is wrong. He followed me from room to room, slept pressed against my legs at night, looked at me with those concerned eyes that asked questions he could not voice. I took him on longer walks, threw tennis balls until my arm ached, found comfort in his simple, unconditional presence. He never lied. He never betrayed me. He was just there, solid and loyal and real. Madison's lawyer tried to fight the terms, claimed she deserved half the house, half my retirement, more time to figure out living arrangements. Patricia destroyed those arguments with documentation of the affair, the timeline, the money Madison had spent on hotels and dinners that benefited her relationship with Kyle, not our marriage. The judge was not sympathetic to someone who committed adultery while claiming they deserved marital assets. The divorce was finalized in 43 days, faster than anyone expected. Madison signed the final papers through her attorney. I never saw her again in person. I kept the house, had it deep cleaned, repainted the bedroom where we used to sleep, replaced furniture that reminded me of her, made it mine, turned her office into a gym, bought new dishes because I could not stand eating off plates she had chosen, changed everything that felt like her until the space reflected only me and the life I was building alone. Friends tried to set me up on dates. I declined. I was not ready. Needed time to trust again, to believe that someone could be honest, to imagine opening myself up to that kind of vulnerability. I focused on myself instead. Started training for a half marathon. Read books I had been meaning to read for years. Took Cooper camping in the mountains. Learned to cook properly instead of ordering takeout. Built a life that felt full even without another person in it. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into Kyle at a professional conference in Phoenix. He saw me across the room, tried to disappear into the crowd. I walked right up to him. "We need to talk," I said. He looked terrified, started stammering excuses. I cut him off. "I am not here to fight you," I said. "I just want you to know something. You did not win. You did not get some prize. You got someone who is capable of betrayal, who lies easily, who values excitement over commitment. Good luck with that." He told me they had dated for 2 months after my divorce, then she cheated on him with someone else. He looked genuinely hurt by it, like he had not seen that coming. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Instead, I walked away, went back to my conference session, and did not think about either of them again. A year after I served those divorce papers in Seattle, my life looked completely different. I had been promoted to senior project manager, overseeing major infrastructure projects across the region. The job was demanding but rewarding, filled with challenges that actually mattered. I had run that half marathon, finished in under 2 hours, felt strong and capable in ways that went beyond physical fitness. Cooper and I had explored most of the hiking trails within a 100-mile radius. I had become comfortable being alone, learned the difference between loneliness and solitude. I started dating again. Nothing serious, just meeting people and remembering how to connect without fear. Met a woman named Julia through a friend's barbecue. She was an architect, shared my appreciation for structural design and problem solving. We went out a few times, talked about our respective divorces, found common ground in rebuilding after betrayal. It did not turn into anything long-term, but it reminded me that good people existed, that not everyone was like Madison, that I could trust again when I was ready. Madison tried to contact me one more time. A handwritten letter arrived at my office, forwarded by someone who apparently still had my work address. The letter was 6 pages long, filled with apologies and explanations and requests for closure. She wrote that leaving me was the biggest mistake of her life, that Kyle had left her after a few months, that she had been through therapy and realized she sabotaged the best thing that ever happened to her, that she was sorry, so deeply sorry, and wondered if we could at least talk, find some kind of peace, maybe even consider trying again. I read the letter once, felt nothing except maybe pity, and threw it away. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt. Some betrayals are too fundamental to forgive. Not because of cruelty or inability to move on, but because the foundation of trust was destroyed so completely that nothing could ever be built on those ruins again. What I learned through all of this was profound and life-changing. I learned that self-respect means walking away from people who demonstrate they do not value you, no matter how much history you share. I learned that confronting betrayal head-on, handling it with strength rather than weakness, brings a kind of closure that waiting and hoping never could. I learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is refuse to let someone make you their backup plan, their safe option, their fallback, when excitement fails them. I learned that being alone is not the same as being lonely, that rebuilding takes time but produces something stronger than before, that dogs are better than most people, that running helps clear your mind, that you can survive something you thought would destroy you and come out better on the other side. Most importantly, I learned what I will never accept again. I will never accept being lied to, being taken for granted, being treated as less important than someone's selfish desires. I will never again ignore my instincts when they tell me something is wrong. I will never settle for someone who does not choose me every single day completely and honestly. These days, I am content. Not in a settling way, but in a genuine appreciation for the life I have built. Good job, good home, good dog, good friends who showed up when everything fell apart. The possibility of good relationships in the future when I am ready. The confidence that comes from handling a nightmare situation with dignity and walking away stronger. Madison lost everything that mattered. Not just me, not just the house, not just the stability she took for granted. She lost her self-respect, her reputation, the trust of her family. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, she moved to another state. Changed jobs is trying to outrun the consequences of her choices. I hope she finds peace eventually. I genuinely do. But that is her journey, not mine. Mine is here in this life I rebuilt from ruins with a dog who greets me every evening like I am the most important person in the world, with work that challenges me, with friends who value loyalty, with a future that is entirely mine to build however I choose. And that future does not include forgiving someone who showed me exactly who they were when I caught her in that hotel room. Some people say forgiveness is for yourself, not the other person. Maybe they are right. But I have found my peace not through forgiving her, but through refusing to let what she did define me. She made her choices. I made mine. I chose self-respect, honesty, and a life where I never have to wonder if the person beside me is where they claim to be. And that choice has made all the difference. So here is what I want you to take from this. Have you ever had to make the impossible choice between staying in something comfortable but broken, or walking away into the unknown? How did you find the strength to do what needed to be done? Share your story in the comments. I read every single one. If this resonated with you, if you have ever had to serve justice to someone who thought they could get away with betrayal, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories about choosing self-respect over second chances. And share this with someone who needs to hear that walking away from betrayal is not giving up. It is leveling up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I hope my story reminded you that you deserve loyalty, honesty, and someone who chooses you every single day without hesitation. Stay strong, know your worth, and never settle for being someone's option when you should be their priority. Take care of yourselves out there.